Hello, my name is Dwight Miller. I teach at West Mecklenburg High School. I teach world history there to majority ninth graders. A fun fact about West Mecklenburg High School, for me personally, my father actually graduated from this high school, so it actually has a very personal place, special place in my heart. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through my vision and goal from this past school year. I'm going to take you through the pieces of evidence that I use in order to kind of hold me accountable for my vision and my goal, and also talk about some areas of growth and areas of opportunities for this upcoming school year. My vision for this school year was to make sure that students felt supported and also felt that they were getting a quality education that was equivalent to other schools in CMS that were outside the Teach for America feeder pattern. Basically, schools that had more resources than our own school at West Meck. The first bit of evidence that I want to take you through is the student conferences. Student conferences were held at the midterm of the semester. Students took a survey concerning their perceived strength and weaknesses and also their goals in their lives. And what I would do is after they took the survey, they would conference with me while the other students were doing independent work. Just so we can have a little bit of an idea of what this student conference survey was. It was a Google form. Very simple survey, had the name, had their biggest academic strength, what would be most difficult, things like goals. Ultimately, just kind of a recheck on the get to know you section of the beginning of the year, kind of a refresher. So not only to refresh me, but also to kind of refocus the students. The data from this wasn't completely conclusive. However, I could gauge a little bit about what my class was. The class was split into thirds. One third felt that they had improved as a result of my class from the midterm. Another third, middle third, felt that they were about the same. They were about the same students as when they came into my class, which is something that I would want to change. And then another third felt that they, as students, had declined and become a little bit off focus. This is pretty natural with ninth graders. They generally lose a little bit of focus midway into a semester, especially if it's the spring semester. They kind of lose a little bit of getting the spring fever and wanting to be outside and wanting to be, summertime to start. So throughout these conferences, I was able to actually pinpoint the actual causes of their declines, and also kind of come up with an action plan in order to get them back on track. This was a way in which I could recenter myself and also kind of hold myself accountable midterm to kind of make sure that I'm fostering the environment that I want to foster for my student success. In conjunction to a midterm survey, I was able to get survey data from the end of the school year. So I'm just going to take you through the survey that I actually used. Give it some time. This is the student exit survey, and for it has simple things like the name, basically kind of tracking where they felt they grew the most, talking about maybe how much I cared about them or how they felt I cared about them, getting some exam feedback, talking about just getting their feel of how well they felt prepared as far as the North Carolina final exam, and overall gauging the relationship they felt they had with me. Once again, the survey, very qualitative, nothing that I can find as this is ultimately where it was, but it is a good tool for me to be able to use and improve my classroom. From the feedback, I was able to gather two definite conclusive things. First of all, most of my kids liked WebQuest. A WebQuest, just to give you an idea, is kind of just like a self-paced, self-guided web adventure. What they would do is they would have questions that go along with these links, and it takes them through just kind of general overview of whatever we're talking about in class. A lot of students from just verbal feedback seemed to like it because it was self-guided. One thing that they absolutely, without any type of competition, hated were my document-based questions, or DBQs. Just to give you an idea of what my DBQs were like as far as the level of rigor, these were more rigorous, and they were designed to be more rigorous and decided to be more challenging. So wasn't any surprise that something, for instance, in this case, primary reasons fall of Rome and having to go through and analyze these individual documents and then being able to answer the question, reference the documents, that amount of work probably wasn't going to win any favor, any popularity contest. So I'm kind of expecting that. And as far as things that I can do to improve the survey, I could be able to understand why they didn't like the DBQs and hopefully get some more fruitful answers than just it was a lot of work and we did them all the time. The third piece of accountability that I use were teacher emails. One of the things that I found when teaching at a place like West Mech or from other Teach for America Corps members in Charlotte was that a lot of us weren't reaching out to schools that were outside of the TFA feeder pattern and understanding what they did in order to have their students be successful. And a lot of that, I think, might be the crux of the achievement gap. And we are using these schools like Audrey-Kell, Mallet Creek, and Butler as the gauge of the achievement gap. Then in order for us to close it, we have to know what they use in order to hold our students to the same exact standards. So throughout this year, I was able to reach out to both Mallet Creek, to Audrey-Kell, and to Butler, and be able to exchange resources and also meet with them and discuss exactly what they do in order to make their courses rigorous. So that was all things related to my vision. Next, we're going to go through my goals of my class. So the goal of my class this past year was to have 70% of the class achieve 80% average on the final exam. I want to be able to exceed growth in 80% of students based on the North Carolina final exam data and move West Mech from 5th in the district on the World History Final to 4th in the district. This ranking is concerning growth, not proficiency. The first piece of evidence that I used in order to hold myself accountable to make sure that I was on track towards this goal was Mastery Connect data. This is our track system that I use. I would click on this, however, it has student names and I'm not going to break confidentiality with my students. However, the data shows that I did not meet my growth this year, my goal this year as far as proficiency. Only a small portion of my kids received mastery that was at or above 80%. That being said, the metric of mastery and average are different under Mastery Connect. As far as mastery is a lot harder to gain than averages. So it was a little bit, as far as hard to understand exactly like what constitutes an average and what constitutes mastery, and we actually had a kind of discussion about like what our data would say. When looking at averages on tests, I came close to my goal, but I did not achieve it. I was able to achieve my goal on the honor section that I had, but I was not able to achieve my goal in the academic standard. The second piece of evidence that I used was the spring midterm, and once again, I cannot click on it because of student confidentiality. In 2016, I used it in order to track the trajectory. The average among all three of my classes, including the honor section, was around 63%. 15 out of 67 students tested received at 80% of the goal. Once again, kind of fell short of that, but it was a good way for me to kind of refocus myself in order to get them prepared for the North Carolina final exam. The North Carolina final exam, as far as the raw averages, the North Carolina final exam score, student average was about 75% across all my classes with the curve. It was 55% without the curve. And the curve in North Carolina is pretty generous, so once again, it's kind of hard to tell as far as what should we, like tracking growth, what should we use during the school year in order to track to make sure they're in the trajectory in order to meet their goal on the state exam using the state metrics, which we do not have access to, and generally from what I've understood, there's not a great deal of understanding as far as the metrics used in order to evaluate growth and value-added growth with students. However, overall, based on my stand level sessions, we did not reach our goal, but the honor section, we did reach a goal. Overall, this past year was a pretty good year. We have a lot of areas of growth. I have a lot of areas of growth as far as a teacher. However, I do feel that the Lever Miller Fellowship will offer me these opportunities in order to grow and become a better teacher. Overall, this upcoming school year, I look forward to being able to teach AP Human Geography and hopefully using some of those things that I use in that class in my world history class in order to improve learning, improve understanding, and also improve the rigor of the course. This is Dwight Miller. It was nice to speak with y'all. I hope you have a good day and learned a lot.